بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أسعد خلقه وخاتم رسله محمد صلى الله عليه وآله، ورضي الله عن المهاجرين والأنصار ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. We cannot be with Surah An-Nisa without talking about 434. In English, everybody, when they ask about Islam and so on, they say, what about 434? And then we have to answer, what about 434? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in 434, in the ayah number 34 in Surah An-Nisa, is actually laying the foundation of the relationship between men and women, not just husbands and wives, by the way, men and women. الرجال قوامون على النساء. This is a social rule in Islam, and the qawama could be misunderstood as absolute authority or obedience or any of that. And these are not Islamic concepts. The قوامة قام يقوم الله لا إله إلا الحي القيوم is to take care of someone, is to be responsible, is to guide someone, is to have the rank of leadership over someone. Men have leadership and they have responsibility and they have care to give. And this is the Islamic paradigm. And as I mentioned, we are not all equal. But the ayah is not actually saying that men are better than women. It says that they are responsible بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض. By what Allah had made them better at, some over some, بعضهم على بعض, بعضكم من بعض. The believers are some over some. Men and women are some over some, which means that some men are higher than women or some women in responsibility and rights and so on. And some women are higher than some men in responsibilities and rights. Some responsibilities have male priority and some responsibilities have female priority. And some rights have male priority and some rights have female priority in Islam, because the philosophy of Islam is to balance men and women, but for men, to be responsible for the society. And as I mentioned, doing most of the fighting and most of the governance and most of the leadership and most of the traveling after providence and after the affairs of the ummah. This is how life has been since the beginning of creation and until today. And therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving males the qawama, or the responsibility over their sisters, over their mothers, over their wives, over the females in the society. Now, I like the translation of the protectors, the translation of the caregivers, the translation of the sustainers. All of these are translations, and the qawama is not just absolute priority or absolute authority. And then when a husband and wife have an argument, he says, have the qawama, so you listen to me. It's not about that. And this is not the manly way to go about disputes, but rather to have the respect and the honor of the wife and the family based on the traits of the man, based on the high ground that the man stands on. We deal with a lot of family problems everywhere in the world, but the least where we deal with family problems is in Palestine, actually, where males are actually taking care of females in the plight that you could see. We don't have as many complaints from our Palestinian sisters. Why? Because the males are busy fighting someone else, busy struggling with the real struggles of life, rather than fighting with his own wife or struggling with his own wife. And this is how men should be in our ummah. وَبِمَا أَنفَقُوا مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on to say, and with the money or the wealth that they spend. And therefore, this is a responsibility of the man, not because he is less, but because he is responsible. He is supposed to support for his family. And if the wife supports any part of the family, that is for her a charity. This is the Islamic system. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this as the system because then men would have the responsibility, the wilayah over the wife and the children. فَالصَّالِحَاتُ قَانِتَاتٌ. And those who are good and pious are qanitat. Qanit is to have softness inside. Al-Qunut is to have softness in your heart. They have softness in their heart towards whom? Not towards the husband, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because they have softness in their heart towards their husbands, then they are soft with their towards Allah, then they are soft with their husbands and the family and so on. فالصالحات قانتات قانتات لله يعني قانتات for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do qunut, not قانتات للزوج, not to be subservient or any of that. It's not the Islamic concept. And of course, if, as I mentioned, the male is taking care of his responsibilities and is truly manly, then he is going to be respected in the family the way it should be. قانتات حافظات للغيب بما حفظ الله. They protect the hidden, whether that hidden is the hidden information, the hidden secrets of the family, of the neighbors, and so on, or of the ummah. They protect the secrets of the ummah too. This is one of the traits of the women of the ummah. It's not just about protecting the husband and his private life, which is part of Islam, but also women in this area are entrusted for the secrets of the ummah and the information that the ummah needs to keep for itself. وَالَّتِي تَخَافُونَ نُشُوزَهُنَّ. Nushuz is to be out of harmony. You say it in music even, when the tone is out of harmony with the other tones, then there is nushuz. So if you fear that there will be disharmony, this is the right translation. Not nushuz is not disobedience, because the wives of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sometimes disobedient. Sometimes he wants them to do something and they disagree and then they dispute, and he either asks them to do it really very strongly or someone intervenes. This is the disobedience or obedience is a wrong concept actually, and it is a misinterpretation of some of the ahadith. And it's not like that. It's about the man gaining respect by being a man and being responsible, and therefore he will have more authority and more say and a final say, if you wish, in disputes, but not the obedience or disobedience like when your pet obeys or disobeys. It's not like that in the Islamic concept. And misconceiving it like that actually causes lots of problems and causes lots of injustices that we see in families of our community. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if you fear that there is disharmony, then there are three steps. That's husbands now. But this harmony has three kinds. There is the kind where the sister is actually doing something that is unacceptable to the husband. Then the husband will advise her, will say, well, taqillah, be fearful of Allah. This is not good. The advice. And then فَعِظُهُنَّ وَهْجُرُهُنَّ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ. If the disputes are bigger and the problems are bigger and there is more hardship and so on, and the man wants to take strict action, the man would be away from his wife from their bed. في المضاجع, not عن المضاجع, in the bed. So they sleep in the same bed, but he takes a side, if you know what I mean, so that they pass through a difficult time where he has to make a stance of strictness and of making a point if there is transgression on his rights or transgression on the morality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained. And then he says, وَضْرِبُهُنْ. There are scholars who believed that beating them is about um, basically disciplining a wife with a handkerchief, a tissue, or a pencil or something. I disagree with that. I don't think it's up to the husbands. I believe in the interpretation that this اضربوهن or beating them is about the punishment of adultery. And yes, we are talking about different levels of nushuz. This harmony could go all the way to, Allah forbid, a fahisha, adultery, or something close to adultery. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that in the hadith of Khutbat al-Wada', when he said, when you see someone on your bed that you disapprove, he's talking about adultery really. So it is not about domestic violence. Domestic violence is haram in Islam. It is not under the family law, it is under the criminal law. When a man hurts his wife physically, this is under the criminal law. And if he kills her, he should be killed for killing her. And if he hurts her, he should compensate her or divorce her with a high compensation. And this is the Islamic law. We should not mix the two chapters of the jarahat and the criminal law with the family law. Otherwise, we are not being fair to our sisters in Islam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guidance and forgiveness. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.